Dude. Welcome to the stream. Today we have some wonderful news. Now, this is the sort of forward thinking that many people have thought about, but maybe they haven't said openly. Maybe, just maybe, people are starting to realize as you don't speak out against things, they get taken away. You all seen that video. First they came for this, you didn't care because you didn't speak up. Then they came for this, then they came for that, then they find it, but then by the time they come for you, there's no one left to speak up for you. So what have we seen with freedoms being taken away? The sacrifice for the freedom of speech and the freedom of movement is a very good point, because what is currently going on with the attack on crypto is at an unprecedented level. We are seeing flow-on effects, risks increasing for banks who want to deal with cryptocurrency, specifically exchanges. Not only exchanges, but now at the retail level, the individual level, the small player is being limited in some banks in Australia. Other banks have blocked payment methods to certain exchanges. And now another bank has followed suit by limiting the amount one can purchase with their own money, mind you, per month. So now they have a track and trace on every single cryptocurrency exchange, it appears, because some may go through, some may not. Now, I'm not sure if you can contact the relevant bank and ask for, exemptions from this, or if you're able to purchase more. What if you're a business? What if your business is the one who needs to purchase this? What if you are a large investor? What if you had more than the minimum that you wanted to invest to get a higher yield return, and you were willing to take on some risks, Then what? Apparently the bank can tell you no, we know what's best for you, and we're going to tell you how you can spend your money. This is the current nanny nation we live in. Without swearing on this stream, it is absolutely not acceptable to be living under these safeguards, they call them. It's for your own safety. Remember the Canadian truckers? It was for their own safety. It was for the safety of everyone that they had their bank accounts closed, because they merely wanted to peacefully protest and point out that they were being affected by some requirements, to mandates nonetheless, that were enforced. And how were they enforced? Basically at gunpoint, because you were not able to work. You're not able to travel without certain treatments. And when you protested those treatments, guess what happened? If you supported them, you had your bank accounts closed. You had your crypto exchanges links accessed closed. And now what do we see here in Australia? We're seeing a full, I would say the attack is at about 30% from my analysis. My analysis on the analysis. Now I'm pulling that figure purely from the sky, but what we're seeing is heavy SEC regulatory attempted enforcements upon large exchanges, not just small ones, large mainstream exchanges. And not that I have love for the exchanges, they're middlemen. And we all know as Hexkins what middlemen are, basically public toilets to be used as such. We're now seeing flow-on effects though. So the SEC may just have got what they were after. They've got, this analysis here, the US SEC crackdown on Coinbase Binance puts crypto exchanges on notice, right? Goes on to explain other exchanges in the US are likely to be in the firing line. So here's my analysis of the analysis. Pull back. If you have Bitcoin on those exchanges, we have people like Max Kaiser saying, good, bring on the SEC to get rid of the shit coins. And someone in the chat was like, you do understand if the SEC and the banks together decide that you can't access any cryptocurrency exchanges, How are you going to sell your Bitcoin? How are you going to exchange it to fiat? How are you going to buy more of it? It is not just one particular cryptocurrency they're going after. They're going after it all. Anything that's not a CBDC. And what I mean by that is the SEC is increasing regulatory risk on exchanges. Banks deal with exchanges. Banks are then going to be like, okay, it's more risky to deal with these exchanges. It's a small drop in the pond, and maybe, just maybe, it's an up and rising technology. Oh, and it competes with our bottom line. Oh, we don't like this. Oh, it's making people financially free and freeing them from having to pay all the fees, having to pay all the interest. Because if, God forbid, they are able to find a finished product that can provide some form of financial freedom, even if it's just to alleviate some of the financial pressures from day to day in this economy with rising rates, fuel increasing, food increasing, mortgages increasing, people having to get second jobs. In that sort of economic environment, you want something to try and help you. And now, because of quote unquote scams, some banks have decided how much you can spend of your own money. Like, are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? It says here in this particular article, they've raised certain cryptocurrencies. I'll just read directly. The lawsuit expands the overall number of cryptocurrencies that the SEC has explicitly identified as securities. That raises questions about other exchanges that have also allowed US investors to trade those tokens. Kraken, Gemini, Crypto.com, OKCoin, and whether they could be at risk of regulatory action. Industry executives said some exchanges may look to delist the tokens in question. So not only are certain tokens being put in the crosshairs, but the whole industry is watching this and they're deciding to take action. And like we saw with some other things that previously happened, during, how do I word this without YouTube banning it? When you feel like you are under threat, you're more likely to panic. It is required that you stay calm during those times. Now, if you harshly roll out a reactive response, which is not 100% thoroughly thought about, proven, tested, then you may end up with a result that you may not have wanted, even if you had the best intentions. So maybe maybe purely the banks here in Australia are trying to protect all their investors because they're seeing increased numbers of people being scammed, right? So instead of individuals becoming more informed, we have banks telling them what they can and can't spend their money on, because the scammers out there are relentless. And then people fall for these scams, which is not good. So the bank decides to protect everyone by telling them what they can and can't spend their money on. Yeah, freedom. That sounds like freedom to me. That kind of sounds like more and more I'm in a sort of environment when I actually don't have any freedom and I get told what to do, what I can eat, where I can go, how I can spend my money. This is my analysis, right? We're now seeing maybe cryptocurrency provides some freedom, and now they're alleging that many are potentially securities on two of the larger exchanges, which means other exchanges may then have to decide whether they continue to operate or whether they can operate, or whether they have to start pulling these certain assets. It is very, very scary to see. Now, destroy the crypto economy. Let's have a read. Let's read this particular article. Basically, US SEC crackdown on Coinbase Binance put crypto exchanges on notice, right? So other US crypto exchanges are likely to be in the firing line after Securities Exchange Commission this week sued Coinbase and Binance, two of the world's largest crypto exchanges, for allegedly breaching its rules. The SEC on Tuesday alleged Coinbase traded at least 13 crypto assets that are securities alleged, which should have been registered. While on Monday, it also accused Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, of offering 12 cryptocurrency coins without registering them as securities. Again, alleged via lawsuit, though. The lawsuit expanded the overall number of cryptocurrencies that the SEC has explicitly identified as securities. That raises questions about other exchanges that have allowed US investors to trade those tokens, such as Kraken, Gemini, Crypto.com, and OKCoin, and whether they could be at risk of regulatory action. Industry executives said some exchanges may look to delist the tokens in question. All US exchanges should now be on notice that they may be subject to enforcement action if they permit or have permitted these tokens to be traded, said Jason Allegranti, Chief Legal and Compliance Officer at Fireblocks, a digital asset infrastructure provider. A spokesman for... What's happening to Tinto? They've just tried, and they keep trying, and I'm hoping they're going to be met with strong resistance, like legally, lawfully, peacefully, politically. But I'll keep reading on, and I'll show you what's happening here in Australia. It's just, I don't understand why they think that telling people how they can and can't live is okay. Like I don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand how, tyrannical dictators feel and believe the world should be run. Anyway, all US exchanges should now be on notice, blah, 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 blah. A spokesman for crypto exchange Bitstamp said the company takes all new regulatory developments very seriously and is currently reviewing the new information that's come this week to determine what actions to take. Both Coinbase and Binance deny the SEC's allegation and have pledged to vigorously defend themselves in court. So this is good. The SEC declined to comment, although I'm pretty sure Gensler will be quite happy with himself. That's why I made the thumbnail. Now, while crypto companies started out in a regulatory grey area, the SEC, under the leadership of Gary Gensler, has steadily asserted the agency's jurisdiction over the industry in the US, arguing that most tokens meet the definition of a security and should be subject to the same strict disclosure rules. However, when asked certain questions, sometimes he stutters and mumbles along. It doesn't give clear guidance at all. Anyway, the agency has brought more than 130 lawsuits and settlements to date, according to data from consulting Cornerstone Research and the SEC website, and in several of those cases has named specific tokens as securities. The Coinbase and Binance suits this week expand that list to include some commonly traded tokens such as Solana, Cardano, and Polygon. We would not be surprised to see more lawsuits from the US regulators and possibly the Department of Justice in the next few weeks, said Scott Freeman, co-founder of JST Digital, financial services firm focusing on digital assets. Now, a spokesman for the Justice Department declined to comment. Crypto companies, including Coinbase and Binance, dispute the SEC's authority, saying many tokens are more akin to commodities and have repeatedly called for regulators to create clear rules rather than assert their jurisdiction via enforcement actions. We do not list securities for every asset we list. Our teams conduct thorough risk and security evaluations, which includes a comprehensive legal and compliance process. We will continue to closely monitor this case and others for precedential rulings, a spokesperson for Kraken said. See, this is like a war on all of the sexes. Sexes with a C. Gemini, Crypto.com, and OKCoin did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Destroy the crypto economy. The latest lawsuit will play out in court, which could take years. An SEC suit alleging Ripple's XRP token is a security, for example, has been under litigation for more than 2 years. But whether the SEC wins or loses, the suit sent a strong signal to the industry that the agency is not going to let up, executives said. While big crypto companies can afford to fight the SEC, smaller companies have filed for bankruptcy following SEC enforcement actions, including crypto exchange Bixi. Alright, so this is where it's getting concerning because if you run out of money, you lose. If banks cut you off, you can't have access to money, you lose. But anyway, that's the analysis on top of the analysis. I'll continue on. I don't think the SEC is under this leadership necessarily cares whether they win or lose in the courts. I think they're engaging in this coordinated campaign to essentially destroy the crypto economy in the United States. That's not good. Because what the US does, Australia tends to follow. Stuart Alderdi, Chief Legal Officer at Ripple, told Piper Sandler Global Exchange and FinTech Conference in New York on Wednesday. Gensler has suggested that an industry shakeout would be good for investors. What? Anyway, no swearing in this stream. I disagree with the notion that crypto intermediary compliance isn't possible, Gensler said in a speech on Thursday, adding, however, that it takes work. Okay. According to an analyst at Bernstein, roughly 90% of crypto trading already takes place outside the US. Executives said they're expecting exchanges to continue to expand to international regions that have more than favorable regulations. I don't understand this. Like, I feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot to kill off, for whatever reason, attempt to kill off cryptocurrency, which has no home base, it has no headquarters. Like, what? Why don't you shut off the oxygen on the planet? Oh, you could kill all the trees, and then kill all the oceans, pollute all the oceans, and then what? And then what happens to... Anyway. Coinbase, for example, has previously said it would consider moving its global headquarters outside of the US. I would imagine that other firms spooked by the prevalent trend for regulation by enforcement will follow suit, said Catherine Wooler, Business Unit Director at CoinCover, a provider of insurance for digital assets. Alright, so we're seeing a coordinated attack, it appears to be, through regulatory enforcement, legal enforcement, upon large centralized exchanges to try and stop them from trading. Possibly to fine them. Okay? And now, what I'm saying is, taking into account all that information, we then look at this here in Australia. This is all the same articles. A major Australian bank declined certain payments to crypto exchanges. Commonwealth Bank executive James Roberts cited a huge scale of investment scams involving crypto exchanges. They basically, if you go on to read it, it says they find it difficult to claw back the money once it's lost. Because if you get scammed and if you send your money somewhere it shouldn't go, in the fiat world, they can claw it back, a credit card scam. That is something to investigate. But if it goes into, this is my understanding, if it goes into crypto and then goes to some random anonymous wallet, it's harder to trace. That's not waste the rock and do the break of fiat. Well, I don't think fiat's going anywhere because they're going to try and define fiat, you know what I mean? Fiat could be transforming, transitioning, merging, migrating into a digital fiat. And that's what they're going to try and put us all on. And if they try and put us all on the digital fiat, which would be equivalent to a central bank digital currency, cryptocurrency and traditional cash does stand in the way. They're actually trying to phase out checks currently because they believe no one uses checks anymore. But if that is done, that sets a precedent to be able to stop a payment method. A payment method could be equivalent to a cash note. It could be equivalent to a cryptocurrency. So everything is moving pretty quick, and there's a lot of things we aren't even seeing because it's not in our face on the internet, but it could be happening. Like how I heard about this check issuance issue is actually through, it was like a radio station. Like, what the hell? And that got me thinking, like I said, I have a strange brain. I tend to analyze the analysts. And when they explained that they're going to stop, using checks, that is technically a payment method. And people said, hang on. How? Why? That is what I think. Now, back to this though. If you look at it, it basically says moves come amid, so they're kind of linking up the lawsuits from the US, from the SEC, and also another bank which decided to cut ties, I guess, with an exchange, Binance, which happened just before the lawsuits came from the SEC. Now, when the cryptocurrency exchanges are deemed risky, now the banks are saying, oh, you can't access it because we're worried about scams and the scammers, So we have here. Do I go over the article? I'll go over the article, see what they say. Basically, from what I read, they're saying fraud bad, fraud, hard to deal with crypto, and we're going to stop you from engaging with crypto, and it's going to be limited at maybe 10,000 or 7,000. I'm not sure what the figure actually was because I saw 10,000 a month. Now that might seem like a lot, right? But maybe you're a large investor and you want to invest more than 10,000. And to grow the cryptocurrency economy, if more people engage with it, say you have a portfolio of $1 million and you're looking to distribute some of it toward cryptocurrency, you're now limited by this limit. And no matter what, you can't do anything about it. So they're essentially choking out this particular bank. Yes, there's other banks, there's other possible ways to purchase cryptocurrency. Maybe there's fiat on and off ramps. That's what I'm saying. Back to the check thing. Like, if that's what they were pointing out, they're like, hang on, if you cut off checks and people that use checks, you've just cut off an entire segment of the population. I can't use the word discriminate because I don't know if it is, but you've segmented out a group and said, we don't care, use the digital currency, which is the dollar. And although that seems like no biggie, because like myself, I wouldn't think twice about it. I barely ever use checks except for maybe when I was working in some industries. But if that sets the precedent, what if they turn around and say, well, we've decided that everyone should use the digital dollar and we're going to cancel cash, and people will freak out. No, but we'll give you an app on your phone which will be like a credit card, and everywhere accepts credit cards. And you've been to some gyms and they don't accept cash because they said that's a risk because people might rob them, and if there's no cash on premises, you can't be robbed. And you know how it's dirty and it might contain viruses, and when you touch it, you shouldn't be touching it and stuff like that. Oh, that's disgusting. So if they were to say roll that out later on, I mean, that's a large step from just canceling people's checks. If you think about it in that way, what else is possible? And now we're seeing, jumping paths a bit, now we're seeing banks taking into consideration US regulatory movements against crypto exchanges. So maybe they feel more comfortable to be able to make these moves because the narrative behind it is that, crypto can be risky. Or we're seeing lawsuits against crypto exchanges. Well, not the population isn't going to care now if we then move and limit this. Only weird people, who use cryptocurrency, there might be criminals who want to use crypto for criminal means, might be offended by this. That's the sort of narrative that I'm starting to see, and it's really frustrating. Dude, that would be amazing. I would like to... I don't know if we're going to stop the whole CBDC thing. Like, I think we are, but if everyone sits back and lets governments run, whoever's going to launch these CBDCs, because I saw one thing in the US the other day I was talking about, basically, they had two bills. One's like, we're never going to have a CBDC, and then the second one was like, we're never going to have a CBDC run by the government, but we can contract it out to like Ripple or JP Morgan. Like, they could contract it out, basically. If they were using an example, Ripple or JP Morgan. So you could go, well, then if Ripple's going to create a CBDC, that's crypto, that's merchants. It's like, hang on. But it's going to be like a closed, not a public blockchain to be tracked and traced. I just don't like it. But yeah, I'm hoping you're right, man. But then... this is where the whole bank thing comes into it. If banks were to say you had a credit card, right, and the credit card you could load or pay off with USDC, or you could exchange that, because that happened here in Australia, right? The USDC was used for a foreign exchange, and they called it, I think it was the EAU dollar. It was run by one of the banks here, and they basically did on-chain on Ethereum. I think it might have been an L2 that they used because it was quicker and cheaper. But they basically ran a foreign exchange trade, and they were able to track and trace it and I guess account for it. So that puts me in a weird position because I'm thinking, hang on, if cryptocurrencies have been proven like the stable coins to be okay, I guess, to use, then is that not already some sort of integration? And then you see with the things like other exchanges that offer, like credit cards, and then you can load it with cryptocurrency, and then you can sell it, and then you can buy things, and you can transact with it. That's almost like the stealth launch of a sort of a CBDC. Now, that doesn't bother me as much as a full-on government issued, Dude, I'm not even taking that bet. Shit. Yeah, but see that, and this is what I'm saying. Like, so we maybe this is the narrative they're playing in the show for us. Like, oh, evil CBDCs. Oh, they're gonna be like communist style. But then it's like, hang on, maybe they're gonna be the stealth launch, and they just sort of run it. Have stable coins issued by banks, or they become their own banks, and then that becomes accepted, and then it becomes, I don't know. It's just weird, man. It's weird in terms of I can't see the next move. It's sort of clouded. And I think that's done, I'm pretty sure it's done for a reason. Because, yeah, if I had all the answers, I would tell you. Oh, yeah, nah, yeah. Yeah, all of this stuff I talk about is just purely YouTube. All of this stuff I talk about is not inside information. It's just purely analysis. It's like analysis of the news, basically. Now, back to where we were. Yeah, so what we're seeing now is, as I was saying before, like we're seeing the banks sort of choke out crypto, quote unquote crypto. And it's going to be interesting, like we're talking about, if they then, like, what if you have an exchange then and you have a large amount of money? And so instead of moving the money to the bank, the fiat, like if you wanted to, maybe they're going to move it to other crypto providing services that allows you to spend your money. And then you're basically going to be like, well, we're not going to use you anymore, banks. But then what if the banks cut ties with those providers? Because I'm not sure how that works. That's where it gets a bit more complex. But yeah, that's what's happening. Like I waited a day, then I did see, I think it was, there was a tweet came out from Tangent, and I was like, yep, it's not just me seeing this. So I thought, well, I'll continue on with the stream now, like with this video. And basically, if the fear can spread and they can try and limit, banks doing what they do, it's going to force innovation. And usually out of the forcing of innovation, great things come. So maybe, like, as you said, bottom signal, Exactly. And the weird thing is, right, with this particular bank, and I'm not sure who owns it, because again, you can look into the this is probably the largest bank in Australia. They call it this. The Commonwealth Bank is like, it's this bank, and then there's the other three. It used to be the big four, but this one seems to be pulling away in terms of even it's like it's how it's priced in the share market over here in Australia. Now, I'm not sure who the owner is or whatever. Maybe it's like a big, large JP Morgan sort of that have the tentacle. Rothschilds have their tentacles everywhere. But these guys are actually offering access to crypto about a year ago. So they've done a full-on flip. Again, amid all this narrative of dirty crypto and like crypto is risky, and now the SEC is coming out and putting their 2 cents in. It might just be literally driving people away from, the stale, decaying legacy financial system, which is probably not going anywhere. But we're seeing like the rise of BRICS and potentially economies over there that are linking up and creating possibly viable alternatives to the hegemony, which is the US petrodollar, which is not going to kill the petrodollar, not going to kill the US Treasury bond market. Like, that will still exist, but it's just going to, different economies are going to start popping up, and just maybe cryptocurrency is going to be one of them. It won't be as large initially, but if enough people, continue to innovate, and work out that what the SEC and what the large banks are doing, it makes no sense to help people with their freedoms. It's literally trying to go, no, you can't have any freedoms. We're going to limit what you can and can't do. And people are going to be like, hang on, this hasn't worked. Why are we still going down the same path? And then this causes people to build. This is why cryptocurrency was literally invented, wasn't it, back in 2008 or whenever it was invented? So I've gone full circle there. And I strongly agree with Tintop's comment about may drive people to crypto. I think I'll wrap it up on that note because, yeah, these articles are all just the same. Partially restrict payments of crypto. We're waiting for regulation updates here in Australia, maybe mid-2024. We're waiting to see how all this is going to play out in the US, if there's going to be more legal action, how the legal action even results. Like, what if the SEC loses? What if all of cryptocurrency gets together, pushes back, and it becomes stronger than ever? What if the next bull market kicks off, and all of a sudden, the banks are left hanging there, going, shit, we've just missed out. We've lost all these customers or potential customers because they're engaging with cryptocurrency they're leaving the country, they're engaging with other international businesses, they're being allowed access to this cryptocurrency, not through a scamming way, but through like a legitimate, clean, innovative, new tech, civilization type 1 way, and we're still riding around in a horse and buggy. Crap. That's what I'm hoping happens. But if we just sit back and let the banks tell us what we can and can't spend our money on, and not finding innovative ways, then we are going to lose this battle. And I don't know about you, but I don't like losing. All right. Thank you, Tintop, for tuning in. And if anyone sees this on the replay, free speech signing out. Signing back in. Jamie Dimon publicly denounced crypto, trash talking about BOFA was buying. Yeah. I could pull it up. I remember that. But this is what I'm talking about. Maximum FUD. Not allowing, smaller people access to clean, healthy, uncut crypto. Meanwhile, I wonder what they're doing in the background. All right. Peace.